All right, in this profit problem, we're told the profit on a video game is modeled by the equation P equals negative 40n squared plus 2400n, where n is the number of games sold in hundreds and P is the profit in dollars. And we're asked a couple of questions here. When is the profit zero? And they're asking us to determine the maximum profit. So a strategy that can help when you're solving these types of questions is draw yourself a little picture of what the parabola that they're talking about in this question might look like. So if we're looking at this equation here, negative 40n squared plus 2400n, our a value is negative 40. So we know that this parabola is going to be concave down. So we could imagine sketching a little graph of this thing that looks like this. We've got some parabola which opens down kind of like this. Okay, and this would be our y-axis, and this would be our x-axis. Or I guess we don't have x and y. What we have instead is we have n and p, right? So our n is where our x would normally be, and our p would be up here where our y would normally be. All right, so when is the profit zero? So if they're asking where the profit is zero, they're asking for these 2 points right here and here, because that is where P is zero on our y-axis. So basically, this question is asking us to find the x-intercepts of this parabola. Now, how can we find the x-intercepts? We can do that by using the quadratic formula, or we can do it by factoring. Okay, we're going to take our equation here, 40n squared plus 2400n, and we're going to set this p-value equal to 0, because that's basically what we're saying here. Profit is 0. Sorry, I shouldn't put a box around this. They're asking us to find when the profit is 0, so they want us to find the n value, and they're telling us p is equal to 0. So we will set p equal to 0. And we will solve for n. And we're going to do this, like I say, by factoring. So I see a negative 40 out front here. I'm going to factor out a negative 40n from both of these terms. 40 is common to both, and the n is common to both terms as well. So I'm going to be left with an n here, and then a negative, because negative 40 times a negative number is going to be that positive 2400, and a negative 60 here if I do 240 divided by 40. So where is this going to be equal to 0? I'm just going to take each of my factors and I'm going to set them equal to 0. Negative 40n equals 0 at n equals 0. N minus 60 equals 0 at n equals 60. So on our little graph here, this would be at 0, and this one would be over here at 60. So when is the profit 0? The profit is going to be 0 if 0 games are sold. Or if, well, the n value is 60, but they tell us in the question that this is in hundreds, so that's going to be 60 games are sold. That seems like a weird result, but it could just be that the model that we created here wasn't exactly correct. All right, let's look at the second part. Determine the maximum profit. Okay, so maximum, we see that word maximum in there. We know that we're probably looking for the vertex of our parabola. And if we come back to our graph, yeah, that makes sense. Right here is going to be where we have our maximum profit. Right? This is our max right up here. Okay, now in a question like this, we want to find the vertex, obviously. We could find the vertex by completing the square, But we also know that our vertex, our axis of symmetry always occurs halfway in between our two x-intercepts. So we can easily figure out where our vertex occurs because we already have our x-intercepts. So we could say something like the maximum occurs at, and we just need the halfway point between our intercepts, 0 and 60. So 0 plus 60 divided by 2 is going to be 60 divided by 2. So at 30. So when 30 games are sold, that is where we are going to get this maximum. Now, they're not asking us how many games we need to sell to reach the maximum. They're asking us what the maximum profit is. So what we have here is we have n equals 30. We want to figure out a value of profit. So we're going to have to sub this value back into our profit equation. So P equals negative 40 n squared plus 2400 n, and we're going to sub in n equals 30 into both of these. And then we just need to work out what this is. And this is just some calculator work. So I punch this into my calculator and I get 36,000. So we can say, therefore, the max profit is $36,000. Now, they don't ask us this, but we could also say when 30 games are sold, 30,000 games are sold.